Time. It's the one thing none of us can stop, and the one thing every scientist has tried to understand. But in the dying days of the Soviet Union, there was one man who believed he could do more than understand it. He believed he could end it. His name was Dr. Viktor Alexei Morozov, a physicist who spent his life chasing a dream that would destroy his career, his reputation, and eventually, himself. This is the story of the man who tried to stop time. Viktor was born in 1942 in the industrial city of Chelyabinsk, the kind of place where the sun rose through the haze of steel and smoke. He was a quiet child, obsessed with clocks. His mother said he used to take apart wristwatches just to see what time looked like on the inside. By his 20s, he was working at a state research institute, buried in the labyrinth of Soviet academia. The Cold War was at its peak, and the USSR was pouring money into anything that might outpace the West: rockets, weapons, and stranger things that never made the news. That's how Viktor got his funding. His proposal was unusual. He claimed he could slow the decay of atoms, the natural process that defines the passage of time itself. If true, it would change everything. Aging, radioactivity, maybe even death, all could be altered. Of course, no one believed him, but the Soviets had a habit of betting on madness, just in case madness turned out to work. In a declassified memo from 1973, titled Project Chasevoy, the Timekeeper, Morozov described his theory that time wasn't a constant, but a field, a wave that could be bent like light. He wasn't trying to build a time machine. He wanted to build a mirror, something that could reflect time back on itself. The experiments were small. He'd expose radioactive isotopes to magnetic and acoustic fields, hoping to slow their decay. For months, nothing happened. Then, something did. One of the reports, later leaked to a Western journalist, claimed that the rate of decay in a sample of cesium-137 dropped by 0.004%. That's almost nothing, within the margin of error. But Viktor didn't see a number. He saw proof. By 1978, his obsession had consumed him. Colleagues recalled that he stopped going home, sleeping in the lab among piles of copper wire and oscilloscopes. He began writing in strange, cyclical notes, words looping back on themselves, like he was documenting from both past and future at once. When asked about it, he said, "You can't understand time if you're trapped inside it." And then, one night, he vanished. The lab door was found locked from the inside. His instruments were humming, lights still on, but Morozov was gone. All that remained was a reel of magnetic tape, labeled Phase Test 0. The tape contained static. But underneath the noise, at around the 13-minute mark, there's a faint, rhythmic pulse. A ticking, but slower. Much slower than a clock should tick. The government shut down Project Chasevoy soon after. Officially, they called it a failed theoretical pursuit. Unofficially, they called it a liability. Everything was boxed, burned, or buried in archives, and Viktor Morozov became a ghost of Soviet science, erased like so many others. But the story didn't end there. In 1995, long after the fall of the USSR, a student physicist named Natalia Orlova stumbled across a crate in a Moscow storage facility marked obsolete instruments. Inside was a notebook, Morozov's. The pages were strange, filled with mathematical diagrams and sketches of what looked like a concentric device. In one margin, he'd written, "If decay slows, perception shifts. The observer moves, but time does not." Natalia recreated his experiment using modern equipment, just to test the myth. And she found the same anomaly. A drop of 0.004%, identical to the original record. Coincidence? Maybe. But even coincidences can haunt you. When journalists reached out to her years later, Natalia refused to comment, except for one line. He may not have stopped time, but perhaps time stopped him. That phrase caught the internet's attention. Online forums filled with speculation. Did Morozov discover something dangerous? Was he silenced? Or did he cross a line into a realm where time itself forgot him? The rational explanation is boring. Human error, bad data, myth layered on myth. But there's something haunting about the idea of a man trying to freeze the very seconds slipping through his fingers and being swallowed by them. In a way, Victor's story isn't about physics at all. It's about the human fear of endings. Every great scientific obsession, immortality, memory, time, begins with someone unable to accept loss. We invent theories, machines, and myths to hold on just a little longer, to delay the tick between before and after. But time doesn't care. The universe moves forward, with or without us. Atoms decay, stars burn out, people fade. And maybe that's the lesson Victor never learned, that the beauty of life isn't in stopping time, it's in living inside it. Some say that if you listen closely to the surviving tape, you can still hear it, that slow, deliberate ticking, like the heartbeat of a man who refused to let the moment end. Maybe he failed to stop time, or maybe somewhere, time stopped for him. This is Zephyrnis, and this was the story of the scientist who tried to stop time.